If Chris is doing 250 with better genetics than me, and he's 23 years old and I'm an old geezer, don't you think he's gonna make gains? Coach Greg, and today I'm going over Chris Bumstead and Iain Valliere. They went on RX Muscle and they basically did an interview with Dave Palumbo, and they talked about their anabolic use, their supplements, what they take in the off season compared to pre-contest and so on. So I'm going to go over the video. I'm going to talk about what did they take? Do I believe it? Is it BS? Are they lying to us? And all that kind of stuff, okay? Before I get into that, I'm not a doctor. I'm not suggesting you take any of this stuff. I'm not suggesting that you don't. I'm just suggesting that you watch this video. That's it. So I should point out how I was wrong. This is the 1% of the time that I'm not right. Unfortunately, Chris came out and he admits he is not natural. Previous video, those of you know, I said that Chris was in fact a black natural athlete. I was wrong. He is not, in fact, natural. His black or white status is still yet to be determined, however. So maybe we'll find that out later in the future. You know, he has that small waist. He's white. I don't know. It's debatable. All right, so I'm going to watch the video and I'm going to comment.
Because I'm not so much like Ian where I have to improve. I need to kind of fine tune. I can't improve too much or I won't make my weight cap.
Okay, so the first thing you need to think is, how big does Chris Bumstead need to be? He can weigh 230 pounds, that's it, and he's over 6 feet tall. Iain Valliere could weigh 300 billion pounds. The more muscle he can have, the better. So Ian is obviously going to be more motivated to get huge. Chris can only get so big. You have to think, if he's lying about what he's taking, you have to think, okay, if he takes too much, could he get too big? And the answer is yes. Chris has extremely gifted genetics, crazy gifted genetics. Chris could be natural and still be an IFBB pro competing in men's classic. You might not believe me, but trust me, this guy looks great, and had he not taken anything, would still look great. It's not just the supplements, people. It's genetics, the hard work, and of course, then the supplements, okay? I look pretty good natural. Chris is way better gifted than I am natural, and if he had taken nothing, he would probably wipe the floor with me, even with me on anabolics. Okay, just a matter of fact, some people are so gifted that even natural, they can beat those of us who are not natural. I'm sorry, it's the truth. You gotta deal and face this. If Chris wanted to, he could get way bigger. They asked him, you know, is there going to be Olympia, whatever? There's probably going to be no Olympia this year. So what motivation would it be for him to take a huge cycle and get huge when he can't even make the weight class and there's no competition? So when we see what he's actually says he's taking, think about that. Keep that in mind.
You know, the transformation, seeing what I can do to my body and push my body is really what is the real reward to me. You know, like I would do all this whether I was competing or not.
And I'm down with this. Okay, if there was no show or they canceled bodybuilding for the year or whatever, would you train less? The answer is no. We don't go to the gym thinking there's a show coming up and that's why we're training. We already love training. The show is a bonus. It's something to do because you're already training. You're like, well, I'll go and do that. It's not some like, I'm training because there's a show. There's a show because you're training. It's the opposite. We all love to train, and then these show promoters make a show because they want us to do something with their show. It's not the other way around. So we don't just join the gym and say, oh, I want to do a competition, so I'm going to go work out to look like that. We want to look the way we want to look, regardless of the competition or not, okay? So let's start by saying that. Now, so with supplements, a lot of people say this, and I hate this. You should only take that anabolics and PEDs if you're competing. If you're not competing, there's no reason to take it. I 100% disagree with that. The decision to use or not use anabolics has nothing to do with if there's a show or not. Okay? Just because you have no ambition to ever be a bodybuilder, to ever compete, to ever set foot on stage, that doesn't change the fact that you want to look good. That doesn't change the fact that you love to train. So the use or not use of anabolics shouldn't really matter if there's a show or not. The only change that occurs is what you actually take when prepping for a show is different than in your off season. Whether you're cutting, bulking, gaining, that can affect the supplements you take. And how much you're willing to risk your health or jeopardize your health to win or not win a competition will affect what you decide to take, what compounds and in what doses. But just because you don't compete and just because you want to look good on the beach or for girls or for guys or for circles, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what you think.
You take what you want with your doctor's advice and approval, of course, and you never break the law. But you do what makes you happy. So don't let people say, oh, you're not competing, you're not a competitor, it's stupid to take anything. And it's not stupid to take anything just because you're competing. That gives you some kind of special right or privilege to be able to take things and the people who aren't competing can't. So that's something I really, really don't like. I hate that mentality. You take what you want to take. If you look like garbage and you want to look average, that seems just as logical to me as a reason to take something as if you look amazing and you want to win the Mr. Olympia. Same as if you go to the gym and you want to use the bench, and Mr. Olympia is competing in a week and he wants to use the bench, and you're just trying to look good. You have just as much right to use that bench or piece of equipment as they do. Just because they're huge and freaky doesn't give them a special right to use the equipment more than you. We're all equal.
Just kind of keeping it like, in that 15 to 18 pounds over stage weight kind of range.
Does that sound like a guy that's bulking? Does that sound like a guy that gets fat in the off season? Or does that sound like a guy who's in shape and lean year round and then just gets mind-blowing shredded? Some of you guys need to wake up, smell the coffee, maybe drink it, and stop eating so much. You don't need to get fat to bulk to look like crap. Sure, you don't want to be 5% year round if you can't handle that. That doesn't make sense. But you don't need to get fat. Bulking and forcing food and getting super sloppy, not needed. 15 to 18 pounds over stage weight for a guy that's 250 to 300 pounds. That is not a lot. That's a small percentage.
So I think I've kind of held this, 15-pound over stage weight kind of look, but I'm just like getting more muscular, more dense looking. It's just progressing within that same look.
So he literally is doing what I keep preaching. He's gaining. He's staying about 15 pounds over that contest weight, but continually adding muscle. So he's not shredded contest lean. Well, no one needs to be that lean. He's certainly still leaner than 90% of us. He's in amazing shape and adding muscle with less crazy supplementation, because when you try to peak for a show, that's when you push every single thing you can to peak. That's when the 1% can separate the winner from second place. The 1%. You're not going to go and double your anabolic cycle for 1% more gains unless it's the difference between winning and losing. But if you're not a competitor, just like a normal guy, you just want to look good, you're not going to risk your health for 1% more gains. For 50% more, you certainly might. You see the difference.
Actually, the last 5 years, I changed how I was approaching it because I realized that I was maybe doing too much and I didn't need to.
Sometimes you take so much stuff, so much, that it's too much. And he actually experimented and he lowered his doses and took less items, less things, and stopped orals, for example. And he says he almost looked better, possibly better. I mean, maybe he didn't look better, whatever, but close to it. And so you can go really, really way less on the doses and get almost the same gains. Say it's 95% of the same gains using half the products. Think of how much safer and healthier that is. So a lot of people just don't understand that a little goes a long way. So when you see somebody, I'll use me as an example. I don't care if you don't like my examples on myself. I'm on 140 milligrams of HRT. And I feel great. I feel like I look great. It's debatable. I'm not quite as huge as I could be, but it's certainly enough to keep me feeling good. If I took 10 times more, I wouldn't gain 10 times more muscle. If I took 50 times my dose, I wouldn't even gain double the amount. at 50 times the dose. I could go on Eric Konevsky's cycle, and it wouldn't make me gain 10 pounds of muscle. It just wouldn't. I'm at a certain level, and a little bit more, yeah, it helps, but it's the law of diminishing returns, okay? Little goes a long way. So every time you see some freak bodybuilder, don't think, oh, they must just take crazy high doses. Oh, every guy that's bigger than me must be on so much. They might be on just HRT or just have freakish genetics like Chris Bumstead and have that much muscle. You think Iain Valliere natural wouldn't be bigger than 99% of us? Really? You think that? Or you think if Iain only took HRT, and I mean 100, my dose, 140 milligrams, and never touched anything else in his life, you don't think he would still be a freakishly big bodybuilder? The problem is so many of you just think it's the supplements that we're taking that are getting us to this level, and you don't realize how we looked even without it. Just look back at some of my old photos when I was natural in my 20s. I had a lot of muscle. Picture if Iain had been natural in his early 20s. I coached Iain. Iain was a freak. I remember he sends me the photos, like, oh, whatever weeks out, 12, he's like 230 pounds. I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty good. And 6 weeks later, I'm like, is this the same person? He's only taking this much. I'm his coach. I know what he's taking. And his results are this freaky. I'm like, this dude's going pro in a year for sure. You could just see the genetics were amazing. Okay? Didn't have to use high doses. Did not need to. Probably could have been natural, entered the show, and still won. That freaky of genetics, it's out there. They have it. Open class Mr. Olympia competitors, all of them would be able to do this. Any guy that can get to the Mr. Olympia, if he was natural, would still be a freak, would still be mind-blowing impressive. So stop with they just abuse drugs. They take so much stuff. They might take so much stuff to try to get 1% better, to be first place instead of third place. But even if they did half the dose, they're still gonna be really amazing pros. Little goes a long way.
The average person would laugh.
They would laugh.
You wouldn't believe if they knew what I was
yeah,
doing.
I mean,
Well, what do you do? Like, what's a typical cycle for you now?
They finally get into what Chris is taking. And they said, look, he has an autoimmune disease. He can't push the gear even if he wanted to. So if Iain said to Chris, I want you to switch into the open class, let's do everything. Well, he couldn't because of his health. But let's say he could. Chris would make the Open Olympia for sure. He would put on way more muscle. He would get bigger than he is. He's not taking a lot of stuff. So you have to just think, crazy genetics, low amount of supplements gets Chris body. If he takes even more, he's going to get even bigger. So he's holding himself back. He could add more muscle if he wanted to, but it would not be worth the risk.
Chris in the offseason, if he's doing more than 500 milligrams of test by itself, that's an aggressive offseason.
Really?
That's his biggest cycle off season. Maybe, he does a little bit more for show prep. That's fine. It's for the competition. He's trying to peak, and obviously he's going to do different compounds to dry out and so forth. Okay? What is he doing right now? 1/2 cc a test twice a week. That's 250 milligrams a week. No, I don't believe it. He's a liar. There's no way he only does that. Well, Coach Greg's doing 140. If Chris is doing 250 with better genetics than me, and he's 23 years old and I'm an old geezer, don't you think he's going to make gains? And on his higher dose of 500, don't you think that's enough to produce a champion level physique? If you're gifted with blessed genetics and chose the right parents, and you have a determined work ethic, you're going to achieve crazy results. So I 100% believe every word of this. I don't doubt it for a second. And I see some of the comments, don't believe it, you're liars. No, Chris doesn't do growth hormone, doesn't do insulin. Why would he need to? He's young and he's already at the top of the limit. Oh, I'm going to do some growth hormone and up my dose, take 1,000 milligrams of tret. Then he weighs in at the Olympia, 240. Chris, you're 10 pounds overweight. You don't get to compete. Well, that was worth it. How stupid would that be? It would be so stupid. Oh, and by the way, you're now going to die because of your health, because autoimmune and the whole thing, and you abuse drugs, and now you're... Why would he do that? He's not a moron. You guys think these people are morons? They're smart people. They're not going to do stupid things and risk their health for nothing. He won the freaking Olympia without abusing gear. Why would he start abusing it? That's the stupidest thing. Oh, you're going to switch over to open? Why on earth would you do that? It's so stupid. It's almost as stupid as Michael Jordan switching from basketball to baseball. Come on, people. Use your head sometimes. When you're the best in the world at something, you don't switch to something else that's more dangerous.
Like, I didn't want anything else to have to change from my, like, kind of coasting, being healthy throughout the year.
Right.
So hopefully you believe this stuff. Subscribe, click the bell button. Press it. I don't know, it's somewhere up there. Press it. Keep watching this stuff. GregDoucette.com for coaching. Greg Doucette, IFBB Pro. Follow me on Instagram. Buy my cookbook. Buy my at-home workout plan as well. It's a big 80-page training guide. You'll learn so much. You might not go to the gym, but you can still train. And until next time, I am out.